Hey, fancy meeting you here. How you doing, huh? Top of the morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, to my amplified unit, salute. It is indeed time to wake up, get up, and get amplified. And we are indeed amplified for this Friday Amped Up podcast for April 21st, 2023, where we have a lot of topics to discuss, so I'm going to keep the cold open short so that the entree, the main course of this podcast, will be filled with the meat. And don't you worry, BC's coming full. It's one of those days, you know. I'm double-fisted basically here. I got my Dunkin' Donuts, my extra, and I got my mocha frat from the fine folks at Starbucks. So I got Dunkin' going, I got Starbucks going, and this is number 5 and number 6 already for the day. So that tells you how we're going to be rolling going forward straight into SmackDown tonight. And that is one of the stories that we will be discussing, the SmackDown card for tonight, Friday, April 21st, 2023. It is a card that could possibly be one of the worst we've seen this year thus far. It's only been 4 months into the year, but a lot can happen in 4 months. Just ask Tony Khan's TNT Championship. If the title could talk, it would say, "Please find me a proper home. I am sick of being bounced around." Gets around more than a Kim Kardashian. You need to relax with that, Tony. 5 different champions, or at least 5 title at least, maybe it's been 6, but at least 5 different title changes from the top of the year, which was just 4 months ago. Again, we went over that yesterday in a couple of different podcasts. But for this, we're talking about SmackDown. And we're talking about a card that on paper looks pretty sad. Pretty damn pathetic. We'll go over it. You guys tell me what you feel about it. Maybe you see a glimmer of hope. And hopefully we get that glimmer of hope tonight so that when BC presents his review of SmackDown within the next 24 hours, hopefully we're talking more positively about the show. Because what I'm seeing on paper, there's not a lot of positivity to talk about. You need a lot of coffee to talk about positivity with this fucking show. But we're going to go over it. BC is going to tell you what WWE is giving us tonight. And we're hoping that it's a billion times better. At this point, listen, 6% better than what we're seeing on paper. We will go over that SmackDown card. A little bit of a preview, if you will. We're also going to talk the CM Punk return date being pretty much official at this point. All that's left is the press release. We have the official date. We're going to go over that in this podcast. And you shouldn't be too shocked. Just scroll down where AEW is going to be, and if you see Chicago, that's pretty much where you can reside your thought process. You put all your eggs into that basket, all of your chips on the table for Chicago. BC's got the date. We'll talk about it. We'll also discuss AEW, the pressure that is on their shoulders now to deliver at least 50,000 fans. I don't think that's going to be a problem. But there's just all this pressure that they're putting onto themselves. At this point, you have to say all hands on deck. Could that possibly mean people like Goldberg? We're going to talk about it, man. And some interesting developments with that, actually. And one of our big stories actually has to do with Goldberg as well. And that's MJF. MJF in a now deleted Twitter post. He didn't just take a jab at Goldberg. He went for the knockout punch. It wasn't up for long because somebody got very angry at that Twitter post, and that was taken down almost as fast as it was put up. It was basically CM Punk'd, right? That Insta story that instantly went down just as fast as it went up for CM Punk, trashing the AEW locker room. Well, this is one of those scenarios where MJF, he doesn't delete that much. With all of the wild shit that he says, you would think he'd be deleting once or twice a day. No, he doesn't do that often. So I'm going to tell you what he said, in case you missed it, because again, it is now deleted. I'm going to tell you what he said and what I think happened, who I think got pissed off at MJF. Maybe several people, actually. So we're going to go over all of that, man. It's a packed show, like I said. That's going to do it for the cold open. BC's going to down a bit more of both of my coffees. And we're going to come right back. We're going to get this thing rocking like only we do. All right, so first up, the SmackDown card. We got to get this thing out of the way, man. SmackDown for tonight, April 21st, 2023. Now, I told you this was a pathetic card on paper. Well, basically, can it be that bad, man? Well, listen to this, all right? Now we're a few weeks away from, or removed from WrestleMania, and just 2 weeks away from Backlash. So, I mean, we're right in the middle here where you got to start to generate some buzz. Ever since WrestleMania Night 2, I'm not going to go over it again right now, but the ending of WrestleMania Sunday night, April 2nd, man, it just seems like the wind has been taken out of the sails of the pro wrestling world, man. Fans, everybody just seems to be on empty right now, and the air just got sucked out of everybody. It was not the right feel at the end of WrestleMania Night 2, and ever since, it just seems like WWE, every company, I mean, look at the ratings. Nobody has been able to rebound from Sunday night's botched booking decision, and the wrestling world has taken a hit. And it just feels like now, tonight, seems to be that moment, that show, the time, the place to really recapture that buzz, ignite that fuse that sparks the interest and intrigue, the captivation that we want in our pro wrestling. Problem is, this show on paper is not going to do such. Braun Strowman and Ricochet look for retribution against the Viking Raiders. Now, if you feel like you've seen that match before, you have. You've seen it several times. House shows, you've absolutely seen it on the circuit. Television, one-on-ones, you've seen them in every which way imaginable. So the best way to capture the imagination of the fans and get them interested and pique their intrigue is to give us the same matchup. And not just the same matchup, but a nonsensical matchup, right? I mean, Braun Strowman and Ricochet is a nonsensical tag team. Makes no fucking sense. All because Braun Strowman made fun of the little gymnastics wrestlers of today, right? And Ricochet is, I guess, one of them. So WWE's like, what if we pair them together? It'll be the odd couple. Fans love the odd couple. Remember Daniel Bryan and Kane? And so many others? Yeah, there's only one problem. BC could have told you from the jump that this was not going to live up to Kane and Daniel Bryan, numbnuts. No disrespect to Braun Strowman. No disrespect to Ricochet. Them together is a nonsensical tag team. Them in the sixth fucking match with the Viking Raiders is even more nonsensical to the format of nausea. That's what the format is tonight. Nausea, nausea, nausea. Get your fucking Pepto-Bismol ready with your NyQuil tonight. Braun Strowman and Ricochet versus the Viking Raiders. All right, BC. Well, what else you got for us, BC? Well, how about Xavier Woods going for the Intercontinental title against Gunther? Like Xavier has a chance in blue hell to get this title off of Gunther. And where? Out of nowhere, all of a sudden, we're treating Xavier Woods like he is the star of SmackDown. You know, you want to push him or attempt to. That's fine. But the way they're going about it with these weird W's, roll up after roll up on LA Knight, yeah. And then he gets an IC title match because he rolled up LA Knight. It's weird to me, man. There's ways to build up wrestlers to the point, to get them to the point where we want to see them in an IC title match, right? But when most of your audience wants to see LA Knight defeat you, you end up rolling him up more than once, and then you get a title shot handed to you. That's right, handed to you at that point. Because you rolled up LA Knight in a couple of singles matches, and because the real reason, Kofi Kingston is injured, and Big E, of course, is out. So they're in flux. What do we do with Xavier? Well, shit, we ain't got anybody else anyway. Let's have him get an IC title match. Now, you say, well, BC, man, that's no harm, no foul. It's a SmackDown, BC. They got to do something with Xavier anyway. Let him have a Gunther title match. Okay, that's it. I ain't gonna fucking shit on it. Okay, if you say BC, no harm, no foul, let's do it then. All I'm trying to say is you're giving me this match lineup, and you're trying to get somebody like BC to be excited for the show tonight, right? Again, couple of weeks removed from WrestleMania, and the buzz is just gone. It's been sucked out of most of us anyway. It's just done, right? There's no intrigue. There's no interest in pro wrestling right now, especially WWE, and we're trying to find it as fans. And you're a couple of weeks away from Backlash, and there's literally no interest. You have a main event that doesn't make sense because it was supposed to be for the title. Again, I don't want to get into this again. But Brock versus Cody, Brock barely shows up to work. When he does, he giggles and then he runs away like Monday. And Cody's got to put another feud on his back. Meanwhile, the world champion is sipping margaritas outside of his fucking Tampa, Florida home, living the life of luxury, not even worrying about making the travel to Puerto Rico to Backlash. Doesn't even have to worry about making fucking travel itinerary plans. Meanwhile, Cody Rhodes is taking on Brock, and we don't know why. Brock just fucking beat up Cody. It was supposed to be because he got the title from Roman. That was supposed to be the story, but now it's, you went on last. Dare you? We don't even... Anyway. And on top of that, the other matchup for Backlash is the six-man tag. Bloodlines, Usos, and Solo Sikoa versus Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Scooter McGee. Well, No, sorry, not sorry. If BC and many others in the Amplified unit are not going to jump on board the Scooter Express into Backlash in Puerto Rico. No, we've already seen Sammy and Kevin versus the Bloodline in so many different facets and ways and variations. Now, that's what I mean by the story has to end at WrestleMania. Then you can start a new book with the same characters if you want and revisit the story in the new book, but in different ways. Get creative, make it feel fresh. This is literally the same variation. This is, if WrestleMania Night 1's main event with the Usos versus Sammy and Kevin Owens for the titles, if that was at a peak 97% peak interest rate, this is at about a 21% tops of an interest rate. 21% tops. Six-man tag. The only variable that is different is, Scooter McGee, Matt Riddle is involved. And that's Backlash. That's what you're selling us on. My point in all this is coming out of WrestleMania with nobody really feeling the interest in pro wrestling right now, especially WWE. 2 weeks away from Backlash. We want to feel that interest and intrigue. And this is the type of show that needs to do such. And when you're giving us matches like Strowman and Ricochet versus Viking Raiders again, and the big main event title match is Gunther and Xavier Woods, who's been spending weeks rolling up LA Knight, a guy who needs to be getting and collecting W's right now like Pac-Man would collect fucking cherries. This is the time. Sonic the Hedgehog collecting fucking gold rings. LA Knight needs to be collecting W's. But no, he's getting rolled up. And the guy who's rolling him up now gets an IC title match. No, forgive me not. If we're not on board with this match lineup for tonight. I'll put it that way. And on top of that, by the way, the Women's Tag Team Championship match is Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan, new tag title holders, by the way. I don't even know how, and I love Liv Morgan. I support Liv through and through. I don't know how this all happened to get to the Trish heel turn on. I don't even know. And they're going to defend their titles, Raquel and Liv, against Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green, who just got together as a tag team. They're not even a real fucking tag team. And by the way, I don't even have that much of an issue with taking two individuals and thrusting them together if it's done correctly. For instance, Gable and Otis could have worked. Alpha Academy has so much that could have worked, so much potential that has been untapped. They're just jobbers, right? Comedy acts turned jobbers, usually within the same show. But $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and IRS were thrown together, and I loved Money Incorporated. Earthquake and Typhoon thrown together to form the Natural Disasters. I don't mind it if done correctly, and you actually give them that boost. Make us feel like they're a real tag team. They have to tell us they're a real tag team. Chelsea and Sonya get thrusted together, and in a matter of weeks, they're already going for tag titles. And this happens all the time in WWE. That's the problem. It's not just like it's once or twice here and there. This is what always happens. And if you're wondering, just to throw it out there, so anybody that says, well, basically, maybe they've earned it over the last several weeks. Maybe they just collected like a string of, 7, 8, 9 wins in a row. Or you know what? Beggars can't be choosers. 5 or 6 wins in a row, right? Well, guys, let me just give you Chelsea Green's win-loss percentage over her last, I don't know how far you guys want to go. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. She's had about 19 matches since she's been back. No. That's going back to 2020. Oh, that's when she was in the 2020 Royal Rumble for Chelsea Green. No. Let's go to 2023. Not including the Rumble, guys. She's had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 matches. Okay, so Chelsea Green has had 12 matches since being back on the roster for WWE. Now, for those 12 matches, guys, she has won 2. 2 out of the 12. If you want to go to her last, I don't know, what do you want to do? Her last 6 matches? She is 2 for 6. 1 of her last 3. So I'm just picking Chelsea here. I mean, Sonya Deville would be a whole nother can of worms that I'm not even going to open that can. But my point is, you see what I'm saying? Like, nothing. How do you just get title opportunities just for being there? I mean, it's such a non-existent tag division that at this point, if you're a female in that locker room, just find somebody else, right? If you're Dana Brooke, go find Tamina and just go, hey, if we just get together and have one match, Adam Pearce will put us into a tag title match next week. Like, how do you not do that, man? How is that not? It's this is the stuff where people go, just enjoy the product. You're thinking about it too much. But no, it's a television show. In fact, it's an amplified television show. There's nothing like pro wrestling. But even if it was just a television show, wouldn't you try to find out you would try to find ways to illuminate the believability, right? The believability factor. You would find ways to enter the wacky world of said television show, whether it's The Simpsons, a half-an-hour comedy show, cartoon comedy show like The Simpsons, or Seinfeld, or Friends, or an hour-long drama like Breaking Bad or The Walking Dead, right? You enter the wacky world. You're talking about zombies, but you're willing to believe it. Just tell me why I should care about the characters. Tell me why I should be invested with the storyline and make the story as wacky as it is, Walking Dead, about zombies eating people. But tell me why I should believe it. And it became so successful because enough people believed it because it was done properly, right? Why the fuck is somebody going to take a half an hour and watch a cartoon like The fucking Simpsons? As wild as that show is. Because people can believe it for a half an hour. So you're asking us to do that for WWE, but we can't question it? When you're having a title match with number 1 contenders, supposedly, even though that's supposed to be Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey, but they're injured, then why the fuck were they winning at WrestleMania when we already knew they were injured? This is what I'm saying. This is why a show will fall off. Walking Dead, for instance. At around season 7, a lot of fans started walking away from the show. A lot of fans got disappointed and literally stopped watching. Look at the ratings. Watch how people voiced out with their frustrations and dislike for seasons 8 and beyond. It's because the writing went a little haywire. The show went off kilter. The best characters were saying check you later. The stories were becoming wacky to the point of non-believable and just sucked. And before you knew it, The Walking Dead, which was so popular, became so bad. There's reasons, guys. You can critique shows, movies, food. Why would WWE be immune to that? Number one contenders are supposed to be one team, but they were injured, and we already knew they were injured at Mania, so why were they in the fucking match? And then you talk about new number one contenders, which was Liv Morgan and Raquel against Becky and Lita, which became Becky and Trish. Well, how the fuck did Liv Morgan and Raquel jump the line? Because they won one match when they originally lost in the WrestleMania Showcase match to Ronda and Shayna, by the way. So no matter what Liv and Raquel won past that, they should have to wait for Shayna and Ronda. But either way, they end up getting the number one contendership over Shayna and Ronda, and then they win the titles. And then all of a sudden, Chelsea and Sonya, with some of the worst winning percentages on the roster, they leapfrog everybody and go to the championship match on a random Friday night. And then you could say, well, BC, they didn't really leapfrog anybody because there's no real tag teams in this damn division. Thrown together females like Candice LeRae and Michin. Don't even get me started on Munchkin's reception this past Monday. It was the same as last Monday. Negative crickets, negative decimals in these arenas. You gotta pipe in people giving a fuck. You gotta pipe in golf claps now. It's gonna happen, I'm telling you, because that's how silent fans are for Munchkin and Candice LeRae and all these weird teams that they're throwing together and not really giving anything to. They're throwing them together. It's like throwing these individuals to the wolves, dropping them in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean with a fucking round table of sharks and saying good luck. Not their fault they're not getting reaction. Look what you're giving them. This women's division is in shambles. And you think a tag title match between Liv and Raquel versus Sonya and Chelsea is going to save that or do anything to pique interest? It's bullshit. Can you tell I'm not fond of this show? I'm hoping the show goes off damn good and that we can talk about it in a mostly positive way for tomorrow. I really am, guys. We've seen pay-per-views that on paper sucked, but the performers in that company ended up putting on a damn solid show. And when we did the review, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the pay-per-view, we talked about how it was a good show. But leading up to it, we trashed it. And for justified reasons. On paper, it was trash. So we're still going to critique it on the lead-up. We're hoping the show produces better results. Right now, a tag title match for the females that makes zero fucking sense. A repeat match in the tag division for the men with Braun Strowman and Ricochet versus the Viking Raiders in a weird-ass IC title match with Gunther and Xavier Woods. Trumpet Man Thompson. Mr. Trumpet Thompson versus Gunther. And I'm sure we're going to have the Usos and Solo brawling with Sammy, Kevin, and Scooter McGee once again, because that's what we've been getting every fucking show since the night after WrestleMania. Every show is Scooter McGee, Kevin, and Sammy brawling with the Bloodline, minus a Roman, of course, because Roman doesn't show up to work anymore. He especially doesn't work Mondays, and good luck finding him on Fridays. But it's okay, BC. He's gonna reach 1,000 days as champion, and it'll all be worth it when we call him 1,000-day champion, BC. Okay. All right, gotcha. All this is so we can call him 1,000-day champion. Well, it's easy to hit 1,000 days when you don't work half of them. Anyway, that's SmackDown. We'll see what it produces. Up next, guys, I want to talk, what do you guys want to go with this, man? The CM Punk return date. We'll talk that. And I want to say, yeah, it's definitely going to be the debut of AEW Collision, Saturday night, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. I just want to get the actual date. I know it's in June. So it's June 17th. June 17th will be the actual debut of CM Punk. It's pretty official. We just are waiting the press release now. That could come at any moment. Knowing Tony Khan, he'll make a big announcement about a big announcement, and he'll announce it on Wednesday to try to pop a rating, and he'll tell us all that Collision is coming and that CM Punk is returning to AEW. Not that big of an announcement anymore. The whole world knows that. So we're just waiting for the press release, but it's going to be June 17th. That should not shock you. That is in Chicago, Illinois, of course. Is it Illinois or Illinois? Should I say the S at the end, Illinois? No, I don't think it's noise. Illinois. I think the S is silent. Anyway, anybody from Illinois want to chime in? Chicago, Illinois. At the United Center. And guys, this is, again, why I say it shouldn't shock you is because this is just a repetitive process. Every time they're going to be in Chicago, they try to promote Phil Brooks, CM Punk. I know, BC, it's been done always. Sasha Banks, Boston. John Cena, Boston. Daniel Bryan, Seattle. Wherever their home is, I get it, right? Miz, Dolph Ziggler, all of them in Ohio. You play to it, right? The Hearts in Calgary, Montreal recently with Sami Zayn. I get it. But with Phil Brooks, it just seems different. It's like they have to have Brooks' name out there for Chicago. I think that may be because it probably seems that way because it's fact, that AEW runs so many shows out of Chicago. I mean, I'm half kidding here, but I wouldn't be shocked if you told me that 76% of AEW shows are out of Chicago. It just seems like they're always in Chicago. That leaves a lot of opportunity, a lot of room for opportunity to bring back a Phil Brooks in his home city of Chicago. So that's why you guys should not be shocked. All you had to do is look at where AEW is going to be, pinpoint Chicago, and say that's most likely where he's coming back. Because he's got to come back before Wembley Stadium, because what everybody is telling BC is AEW needs CM Punk. Well, damn. I mean, he didn't move the needle much last time, but okay, we'll see. For the first month, there's definitely going to be a pop in the rating. People are going to want to see how he's going to be used, what the atmosphere is like. I get it, right? You're going to pop the million plus, maybe 1-1. Do they hit 1-2? Ooh, I don't know about that. My concern is after a month, exactly what happened when he debuted with AEW, and the ratings started to fizzle out, where the norm became 950,000, and when Punk was gone, the norm remained 950,000. That's why I say he was not a needle mover like a lot of people claim that he was. The buys that everybody says on his pay-per-views that he was on, they were the biggest buys in the company. Did you really mesh the numbers? The needle was not moved that much, bro. All you had to do is get creative, put some good storylines on there, and you would have popped that number, that buy rate. If you look at all the negativity, the toxicity that came with Brooks, it far outweighed the positive that Phil Brooks brought. They were expecting a lot more. And it didn't work. It didn't come to fruition. Well, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I hope this works for Tony Khan and AEW, especially for the fans. But there's a lot of red flags on this, man. A lot of what is happening seems to be a repetitive process. I don't see a lot of changes being made. There's a lot of mending that we're talking about, right? So that's June 17th when CM Punk returns. And what I mean by mending is there's a meeting that's supposed to be taking place soon with locker room leaders, EVPs, Tony Khan, and CM Punk. Now, we're hearing that the Young Bucks do not want to attend. BC is looking into that. I don't blame them at all. Chris Jericho, it looks like he will attend, but he's not eager to jump into this meeting. And a lot of people are saying, well, this is the chance for everyone to have a handshake, a big hug, and just do business like adults. Well, if you knew how this dude conducted himself, who the fuck are you to tell these grown adults who they should put back into their circle or do business with? When somebody shows you their true colors, maybe you don't want to do business with them. They have every right when somebody challenges you to a fight at the locker room, the entire locker room, to go to their locker room if they don't like what they said, puts the entire locker room on blast, says fuck you to the leaders, whether you like them or not. What do you expect to happen, man? What do you expect to happen when you have the biggest purse? You have the biggest payday. Meanwhile, other people like the MJFs, the Guevaras, all of them individuals at that time were pulling in pretty solid ratings. MJF was actually beating Phil Brooks in the ratings until they moved CM Punk to the Q1 segments consistently. And BC told you they needed to do that weeks before Tony Khan actually did it. So either somebody was listening or they finally smartened up. But then they moved Punk over to Q1, and that's when he started consistently pulling in top rating. It was MJF before that, and MJF was doing it before, not even having to have the Q1 segment over his head. None of that. MJF was just the biggest rating draw, and that's what led to MJF being pissed off. That was real. That wasn't just storyline, guys. They were able to put their differences aside and work it into a story when MJF returned. But MJF was pissed because he was the biggest rating draw. He was the biggest star at that point, and CM Punk was getting way more money, way less dates, and wasn't moving the needle like they said he was going to. So it pissed off a lot of the locker room. And then they felt the way he carried himself backstage wasn't good enough, wasn't proper, wasn't respectful. You have the same culprits that vow that CM Punk is the greatest thing since the BC Amplified channel or sliced bread, right? Like the Dax Harwood, who just loves talking about CM Punk. He loves CM Punk. He probably has the posters on the wall, CM Punk Snuggie blanket when he goes to bed, CM Punk pillows that he rests his head on. Dax Harwood loves talking about CM Punk. The fact that he's going to be losing his or not doing his podcast anymore is probably best for everybody, because I don't know if any of us need to hear another how CM Punk is a wonderful human being story. But you have the same people that vow and vouch for CM Punk, and then you have about 97% of the locker room that can't stand him. And you're expecting all of them to just shut up and do business, act like adults. Well, no, maybe they don't want this one prick, this one asshole, many of their own words, by the way, not BC's. They don't want him in their locker room. It's the whole reason they're going to have to split the roster up and have CM Punk be the star of a show called Collision on Saturday. And they're actually asking individuals if they want to work with Punk. That doesn't seem awful to you? That doesn't seem pathetic or sad or a sloppy shop? Seems kind of fucked up, man. If this was WWE, you'd be trashing it. Because it's AEW, you're like, it makes sense to me. Split up the rosters. They have a lot of people. You said it yourself, basically. And basically, it's not just Punk. It's the EVPs that cause the problem. No, the EVPs didn't go onto a public media scrum and challenge them to a fight, or Punk to a fight. They didn't air their grievances out in public and act like a fucking idiot. You handle that in-house then if you had an issue. You handle that behind the scenes. Like grown adults, like grown men. But no, puts it out there and all of a sudden the EVPs have to eat the same amount of flack that Punk does? No, it was Punk that elevated this to a level it didn't need to be. Like he always does everywhere he goes. We call that burning bridges in life. And every time Punk walks by a bridge, it mysteriously just goes ablaze. Well, who do you think is causing those bridges to catch fire? Come on, you know I gotta do the line, guys. I'm gonna say it again. If you wake up in the morning and you come across an asshole, you just came across an asshole, unfortunately. But if you keep coming across assholes throughout the day, you are probably the asshole. So I'm sick of this narrative where everybody is like, they have to put their differences aside and just do business like grown adults. Everybody is being childish. They have every reason to hold a gripe. Every fucking reason. When this dude that's getting paid more than everybody else because of supposed name value that didn't ever translate in the ratings or in the buy rates, not to any significant measure, And he caused such rifts, such divides, such turmoil to where people were walking on eggshells around him. These are stories that we heard. Even the women's locker room was pissed off at this dude, like the Britt Bakers and such. That tells you something, because Punk usually tries to play Rico Suave around the ladies. When even they can't stand you, you got an issue. I don't blame anybody in that company if they don't want to work with Phillip Punk Brooks. Not everybody is going to want to work with a punk. Because at the end of the day, a punk is a punk. So this meeting has not transpired yet. So I kind of did a lead in there. The Punk date is June 17th, AEW's debut edition of Collision from the United Center in Chicago, Illinois. And beforehand, there's supposed to be a big meeting with all the executives and Tony Khan and Punk. And we're hearing that the Bucks at this point have no intention on showing up, nor do they want to. Jericho might. But you got a lot of locker room leaders, not just Jericho, like Mox, who's not happy right now at that dude. And I don't blame him at all. So we'll see. We'll stick with AEW right now. We're going to talk about the pressure that is on Tony Khan and AEW, man. And there is some pressure, man. Yeah, you got Wembley Stadium. Matt Hardy, like all of us, BC said about 50,000. If you can get 50,000 in Wembley, August 27th for All In, that's a success in its own right. It's not about selling out Wembley. That's not going to happen. But if you could get 50,000 fans in there, man, you did something special. Matt Hardy pretty much said the same thing last week. 50,000 is the goal that he's kind of looking at as well. Dustin Rhodes just chimed in, and he said about 52. He's always got to be a little different. He says about 52,000 would be a good goal. So basically, we're all on the same page, right? If you can clinch 50 G's, you have just done something pretty special. And now the pressure is on, and we're going to start talking about, like, it's all hands on deck, right? I mean, literally, it's all hands on deck, and that's why we're even talking about Phillip Brooks or Jeffrey Hardy, which Jeffrey Hardy has no business being near a wrestling ring right now. Just get better, bro. Not for 6 months, not for 9 months. Just go away for a fucking year, 2 years, 5 years, and find yourself, find your inner peace, stay off fucking roads, make sure everyone else is safe, not just you. But no, after the court case settled and he has some fucking eye surgery, he's right back. He's got eye surgery, so he's not fully cleared to actually wrestle yet, but he's doing swanton bombs with fucking one eye. You know, and another thing, I love when people go, what about the Usos? Do you keep the same energy with the Usos? Yeah, we do, actually. Have you ever listened? After their arrest, do you hear us talking about, especially this channel? Because BC knows firsthand. I've said this a billion fucking times. I have had many friends pass away because of incidents like that. So I know firsthand what the only options are if you keep up this type of behavior. So yeah, we absolutely came down hard on the Usos. They're not even close to one another. It's two totally different entities. Jeff Hardy is on a whole nother level of a problem. The Usos, if you put both of their arrests together, it doesn't equal up Jeffrey Hardy. If you look at every single one of Jeffrey Hardy's arrests and what it entailed, it is a whole nother level of issues. The Usos have been absolutely fine since, by the way. Jeffrey Hardy's the one. Every several months, we start to have more concerns. We see it in the dude. The way he's acting, something is not right. And then we see a problem. You remember when he walked out in WWE, literally left. Drew McIntyre was in the ring and several others. And Jeff just left the ring. He went into the crowd. You never leave your brothers in the ring. Never should you leave your brothers in the ring and just leave the match like that. He just left. Not too long after, we heard WWE was concerned for his health. He didn't want to take tests or something. Jeff ended up showing that he did take a test, but WWE was concerned. He shows up in AEW, and not long after, here we go again. Driving without even a license. Not even a license, guys. He was driving without it, and he was still 3 times the limit of alcohol. And then he gets a slap on the wrist, and he gets told, well, okay, but this time we mean it. Don't drive without a license again. And then he gets caught again, not only driving without a license, but drunk. And then he gets slapped on the wrist. And then he gets caught again. The Usos never did that. So cut the shit, not even close. Stop it. Do your research. Gain knowledge before you spew stupidity. Because on this channel, it'll never be allowed. My point is, they're bringing back Jeff Hardy already because they know it's all hands on deck. The pressure is on. Here comes Jeffrey. Here comes Phillip. And now the question is, what about Goldberg? Goldberg. It's a very real possibility Goldberg comes in, and I can't even tell you guys that I'm going to flip out and be like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. I can't even tell you guys that, man. There is a very real possibility that Goldberg could show up for Wembley Stadium, a massive payday. I mean, the dude's been showing up to Saudi Arabia. Makes you think he won't go over to the UK and rock it out for a massive payday. I can't tell you I'd be that upset because I see the writing on the wall. The pressure is on, and this is business 101. You say, oh, they need Phillip Brooks if they're going to do Wembley. Okay, well then guess what? Then Goldberg is not going to be no harm, no foul either. He can have an exhibition match. You can have him tool out to fucking Wardlow. You could have him take on an MJF, man. That could be a big match for a lot of people. I know. BC, please. What are you talking about? MJF should be in a good fucking 17, 20-minute match. I understand. I'm not saying I'm booking this shit. I'm telling you there's ways to go where if you're trying to put 50,000 asses into those seats, a Goldberg fucking match is, as much as we can complain about it, man, a lot of fans are going to show up to see it. Goldberg still has name value. He's just absolutely booked to a nauseating degree in WWE. And a lot of that was because he demanded shit and Vince McMahon was stupid enough to give it to him. In fact, he didn't even have to because Vince would have pulled out some stupid booking for him anyway. But when you come, Goldberg would have been okay in WWE. He wouldn't have gotten the heat from fans like us the way that he did. Had his booking been more proper, more legit. Instead, he comes back and he wrecks Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, in just a couple of minutes down in Saudi. That was absolutely bullshit, and that's something that nobody will ever or should ever forget. You can't do that and take the title from this dude. He goes over and he defeats Kevin Owens at a time where Owens was finally getting that rocket in the right way, and he was gaining that natural fan response in the positive way. Because before that, Kevin Owens was kind of in flux. But finally, Owens is on the rise, and all of a sudden, here comes Mr. Goldberg to not only flatten that momentum, put him back into obscurity, but take the title before he gets Das Boot. And that's what he did to Kevin Owens. Same thing he did to Bray Wyatt and so many others, guys. And then he gets all the big matches with the Brocks and the Romans. No, that's not how you utilize Goldberg at all. You should have put him in some fucking epic stories with mid-carders, have him win a few, no question, put some people over that could use it. And here we are now with, he's pissed off because he had a handshake deal with Vince and Kennedy McMahon, and Vince did not honor that for justified reasons. I mean, the guy was going through his own turmoil, and selling his fucking company for almost $10 billion. So yeah, excuse me if I didn't make good on my handshake deal, buddy. Who are you again? What's your name? I mean, that's small fries compared to the main entree that Vince was dealing with. So Goldberg's pissed off. And that, by the way, that also would make sense of why BC was hearing that. He still has a match left on his contract. You guys remember, BC was adamant that he definitely has a match left. He said it himself several times. I was hearing what he was telling my people down in Florida. He's got a match left. And then we hear his contract is just over. Something was not making sense. Now we know why. Goldberg did think he had a match left, but it was on a handshake deal. He did the job to Roman to end his actual contract, and Vince said before he headed out the door, don't worry, we're going to have a big finale for you, and you'll be the Goldberg going over and having the big parade on the way out, and that never happened, so now Goldberg's pissed. But that makes sense as to why we were hearing that he had one match left, and then we heard that no, he doesn't. It's because he honestly thought he had a match left. Handshake deal, you got to watch out for that shit. It's burned Vince McMahon many times in the past. I remember Lex Luger and Vince had a handshake deal, and Lex Luger showed up on the first episode ever of Nitro, not Dynamite, Nitro, WCW. And Vince was like, what the fuck? We had a handshake deal. Before Kevin Nash brokered that deal with WCW, Kevin Nash had a handshake deal with Vince and so many others. And now this is one of those instances where the talent got bit in the ass by the handshake deal, and it was Vince doing the biting. So, now we're at a crossroads, no pun intended to Cody, but we're at a crossroads where does Goldberg show up to Wembley? And would you guys be okay with that? Would you absolutely be like, you gotta be fucking kidding me? Or will you say, I understand the business model. As long as he's not on AEW television every fucking week afterwards, I understand what this is, an exhibition match. Or if he's gonna put MJF over in a title match, I'm not gonna tell you guys that I'm gonna go against that, man. If it's MJF going over, I'm not gonna shit on it like you guys may think I would. You know, I don't know. I'm a little indifferent to that. This is a hard task to put 50,000 asses into those seats with a company that only gets 800,000 viewers in America on their flagship show on Dynamite. They only pulled 830,000 viewers. I think Conan said it best recently. Conan, he said, former WCW talent, he said the bigger problem isn't going to be 50,000 seats in Wembley. I mean, UK pretty much shows up to big events like that. The biggest problem is their ratings and trying to get fans to watch their product, to put the remote down, because they're getting nobody new. And I think that is the biggest issue right now. Could Goldberg help that in the slimmest of ways or margins long term? Remains to be seen. But again, I'm not booking this, guys. If you guys are like, BC, come on, man, not Goldberg. I hear you. I'm just preparing you guys. You could absolutely, everything that I'm seeing is telling BC, everything that I'm hearing is telling BC, there's a damn good chance Goldberg shows up to Wembley. And when I say damn good, guys, it's not just 50-50 chance. It's like a 60-40 already. So just be prepared for it, guys. Now, if I can stick with Goldberg, guys, for the last story of the podcast, Goldberg was just slammed by MJF. Guys, I can't even... It's a deleted post now. I think it was on the Twitter machine. And you guys gotta... Hopefully I can get this up. This is what MJF tweeted out not long ago. This was sent to me by one of my good buddies, and I knew this had to be talked about. MJF says this about the possibility of Goldberg showing up to Wembley working for AEW. MJF says, and I quote, I beat the living shit out of this roided up. I don't even know what I'm allowed to say here for the tube. This whole thing, it's just one sentence. I don't know how much I could actually quote. I beat the living shit out of this roided up JEW. I'm not going to say that shit. It might be okay to say if it's a quote. BC, it's okay if it's a quote, but still, I don't feel that that's right. I beat the living shit out of this roided up JEW. Now, obviously, MJF also Jewish, so I'm sure it's okay if you can call each other that in an insult, I guess. But damn, bro, that is... you gotta remember, it's one thing to be in character, okay? I love MJF. He's one of the bright spots in the pro wrestling world because he is just his character, basically 24/7. I love it. He'll go to an autograph signing and flip off little children. I mean, is that taking it too far? Absolutely. Do I still love the character? No question. I love the fact that he stays in it on social. There is lines, though, for the company, right? And I think that's crossing the line company-wise. It's just not putting the company in a good light. And it was immediately taken down, guys. Immediately. And it's one of three reasons, right? Either Goldberg saw that, found out about it, and got livid, and anything upsets Goldberg these days. This dude's just angry at the world, pissed off. I kind of respect it. But he probably saw that and absolutely made phone calls. There is a relationship between the Khans and Goldberg, guys. You got to do your research, by the way. So he's got the numbers. So he absolutely could have just been pissed outright, Goldberg himself. Or Tony Khan caught wind instantly and demanded that get taken off. Or the legal department of AEW found out and said, absolutely not. Take your pick. Calling this dude a roided up guy when we could be bringing him into the company and calling him a JEW, a roided up Hachu. Just not chew. Legal was like, no, you can't do that. It was one of three reasons, guys. I doubt very much that MJF caught backlash instantly and said, oh, sorry to upset you guys, and deleted it. MJF's not that dude. MJF wants to piss you off. He wants to press the buttons. He wants to poke at the bear. He wants to poke and pry. And he loves it. He gets off on it. The more people he pisses off, the better. It's like BC, man. I always said this from day one. When people cry about my wrestling takes, I fucking love it. There's nothing better. I don't give a shit about salty takes. He's not going to take that down because he ruffled feathers in an attempt to ruffle feathers. It's what he does. He pokes, he pries, he pushes the buttons that are needed to be pushed in order to get the desired result he is looking for. People pissed off. And that's what he did here, clearly, as he always does. There's no way this was going to be taken down because he got some bad backlash. To MJF, there is no bad backlash. To MJF, controversy literally creates cash. No, this was one of three entities, man. It was Goldberg, Tony Khan, or AEW Legal that made him instantly take that shit down before it was even able to make the rounds, which would have been awesome to see the rest of the wrestling community react to such a fucking blast shot. Saying about Goldberg, I'd beat the living shit out of that roided up JEW. Damn, bro. You can't do that, MJ. You can't do that, Maxwell. Oh, man. There's probably a lot of pissed off people right now. I'm telling you, no matter who made him take it down, all three are going to be pissed off. Tony Khan, Legal, and Goldberg right now as we speak. Right now as you guys are listening to this podcast, they are pissed off at Maxwell Jacob Freeman. And again, this is not the first time that he has sent something over Goldberg's way in a jab shot, right? Remember he said about Goldberg, if he ever makes his way to AEW, if they ever stand face to face, Goldberg would have a panic attack he would have panic attacks while holding the microphone. In other words, MJF, we all know, is a masterclass on the mic in promos. And he's saying that he would rattle Goldberg. He would run circles around him. He would embarrass this dude to the point where he would have panic attacks trying to cut a promo on him. Now, that's a jab. I'd beat the living shit out of that roided up JEW. Yeah, that's more than a jab. That's going for the knockout punch. And again, it doesn't bode well if Tony is actually trying to get Goldberg into the company. That's not going to be a good thing. And that's going to really piss off Tony Khan and Goldberg. This happened before with Goldberg and Matt Riddle, just like Brock Lesnar and Matt Riddle, where Riddle talked a bunch of shit and then they ended up seeing each other and Riddle tried to say, what's up, no hard feelings, and Goldberg, the same as Brock Lesnar originally, walked right by Riddle. They didn't want to talk to Riddle at all. They wanted nothing to do with this dude. Goldberg knew that he was talking shit about him. And Goldberg takes that very personally. Goldberg does not let that shit go. This has already made its way to Goldberg. You know that shit. That's either going to make him want to go to AEW more, or it's going to totally shut the door on any offer that Tony Khan is going to give him. But wow. And again, if you're looking for that social media post from MJF to Goldberg or about Goldberg, you're not going to find it. It has already been deleted. BC was just able to catch that. Good buddy of mine caught it in time, sent that over with a whoa face. Like, uh-oh, looks like you got something to talk about here, BC. Yeah, no doubt. You got a lot of pissed off people in AEW about that. No question. And even if you go, well, BC, he's just staying in character like you love about MJF. He stays in character. It's just about a potential storyline, BC. Well, not so fast. There's certain things you just can't say when you're part of a big company, man. You can't call a dude that might be working for your company soon. You can't say that he's roided up. You can't say that he's on roids when there's such a a bad stigma, and a lot of wrestlers have passed away from doing that shit in the past way too young. It doesn't look good. And then he goes and calls them the JEW, even though Maxwell is Jewish. And maybe that's acceptable in the Jewish community to just call each other that because you guys are the same. But you can't call somebody a roided. Yeah, you had to have known that was not going to be up for long. That's how I'll leave that. I will see what the repercussions are from there, man. I'm going to leave it there, I think, guys, because anything else is going to take us well over an hour. I have reserved stories, but I'll keep them for now because we'll just fly way over an hour, and I don't know how close this is going to go up to SmackDown, so I don't want to take you guys away from that either. So I want to get this up as soon as possible, which at this point is going to be like early afternoon, earliest, because there's just so much to do right now, and then hopefully I can get this up to you guys. So I'll end it for that. That's the podcast for April 21st, 2023. I hope you guys enjoyed it, man. We covered a lot. Talk that game like nobody else can in this community. That's what BC does, and that's because he's got the best amplified unit backing him every step of the way. Always smash that up. That's a given. Subscribe if you want to. If not, Das Boot, hit the bricks. Nobody's losing sleep over that shit. But if you do want to subscribe, it's a two-header there. You have to not just subscribe, but you have to smash the notification bell because that'll tell you every single time that BC uploads or does a live stream or a podcast goes out. You guys will be the first to know. So that notification bell is just as important as the subscription bell, if you ask BC. So make sure you guys do that. I don't say that often, if ever. So once in a while, I do have to remind you guys about the notification bell. That's that. All right, that's it. No more time wasted. Go kick the rest of Friday's ass. Hopefully SmackDown is better than what it looks on paper. We'll reconvene within the next 24 hours, and we will talk all about it along with any other top wrestling stories in the world of pro wrestling. BC, saying check you. Top guy, I'm out. Think, be, live, amped always. Till next time. And there will be a next time. Check you later.